Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Marta, for joining us on the Live Fearlessly vlog series. Super excited to have you.
Super excited to chat. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I love to start everything out with a celebration. So what is something that we can celebrate with you today? It can be anything, business, life.
Well, first thing that came to mind is celebrating the fact that I've been spending the last 5 months, day in and day out, with 4-year-old triplets at home from school. And I have, for the most part, kept my sanity. So that's something to celebrate.
Yeah, that's something to say. 3, and you said 4-year-olds.
Yes.
Yes, I love it. That's amazing. I love that you go right there. You're like, okay, let's just go right there. That is a celebration.
Yes.
That's
It's a feat.
amazing. Yes. Okay. So Marta, before we dive into your story, go ahead and give us a little synopsis of who you are. Give us a little bio about you. What do you want us to know about you? Other than
Yes.
obviously you have triplets.
Yeah, that's a big part of the story. So I'm originally from Brazil, born and raised. I started teaching English when I was 14. It's always been an obsession of mine, the American culture, the language, and other cultures and languages too. I also speak French, a little bit of Spanish and Portuguese, which is my native language too. And I was very, very involved in church. My mom is a pastor. We started coming to conferences in the US. That's how I met my husband, eventually moved to the US. And my career path has always been language oriented. So I still work as an interpreter for Colorado courts. I'm a certified interpreter. But when I had triplets 4 years ago in 2016, it was like, life turned upside down. It was not something I was expecting or wanting, to be 100% honest. Never even crossed my mind. I don't think it ever crosses anyone's mind. And we actually were living in Brazil at the time. And then we moved to the US when the babies were 9 months old for several reasons, which was a very, very bold move, being a first-time mom, being away from family, having very little help, close to none, and just, having to do it all while my husband was at work. And that's where I really found the need to dig deeper and to understand myself, understand what I want out of life, out of the need and the awareness of the responsibility that I had in raising 3 kids at the same time. And that's where my empowerment coaching came into play in helping women become more aware of themselves and really gain the confidence to do all the things that they've always wanted to do. And in my case, because of having triplets, it was almost like my life is over. I'm not going to get to do anything anymore, and I knew that was not the right mindset. I knew that that was not true, but I knew I had to dig very, very deep inside of me to be able to overcome those feelings of helplessness. And the coaching is what has helped me, and what I truly believe has helped me in this season, the crazy season that we're living right now in the world. I don't really know where I would be mentally, emotionally, right now with everything that's happening if I didn't have created this support system for myself, which is myself.
Yeah, that's a huge point though, is motherhood and parenthood. I should just say parenthood in
Yeah,
general, right? Parenthood is a really good teacher
it
of
is.
how to be a business owner and an entrepreneur and
Yep.
someone that, you know, you need to show up for yourself
Mm-hmm.
because you need to show up for these humans that
Exactly.
are needing you on a whole nother level
Mm-hmm.
of the way that we need ourselves and what we need to be showing up for in the first place. So I love how you have found that that journey has quite literally got you to where you are today
Yeah.
because you saw it through that lens. You saw that the journey that you were taking with your motherhood and having triplets, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I felt like that with just one child. So with 3
Mm-hmm.
years, it's like, okay, you're pushed up so far that you're like, your choice is one way or the other. And you were like, nope, we're going through the fire. We're going
Yeah.
at it and we're going to empower ourselves. And so you're turning around and you're helping more people do the same thing. So I'm
Yes.
assuming, do you work with moms specifically?
Right in the beginning, postpartum, that was the focus that I had because of where I was at. And
Yeah.
then lots of women who were not moms were reaching out to me and feeling very inspired because they were wanting to become moms. They were kind of like in that threshold and feeling inspired that because everyone, when they're thinking, I don't know if I'm ready to become a mom, we all have
Yeah.
those thoughts, right? Let me wait 2 more years and then I'm going to be
Mm.
more stable financially. And it's like, you're never going to be ready. Like we thought we were ready. We had been trying for a year and then we had triplets. So it's like, you're never going to be ready, you know? And so lots of women started wanting that support that weren't even moms. And one thing that I noticed too is that I didn't want to focus only on moms or use the word moms because I encourage women to not label themselves as just the one role because we have
Yeah.
several roles. We are so multifaceted. There's so many things about us. It's not just the mom. And that's the trap that we usually fall into. And that's the trap that I was, recognizing myself to be in, is that this is who I am now for 20 years to come or so. And I didn't want that to be it. I didn't want that to define me because I am more than just the mom of triplets. I am lots of other things. And so my focus more recently has been on entrepreneurs because one of the hard things about focusing only on moms, especially stay-at-home moms, is that lots of them are in this space of helplessness. And I truly believe no one can get you out of there but yourself. You have
Yeah.
to have that little bit of a drive. And then there are people such as myself that can hold your hand through this process. But ultimately, nobody can pull you out. You have to take that first step and then seek the guidance. And I realized I was kind of, pulling teeth trying to make these women understand that they needed this because I had that realization, but it has to really come from you. And so when you're talking working with women entrepreneurs, they've already taken those steps and they
Right.
know the importance of working on their mindset and their thoughts and changing their behaviors. So it is a lot easier work, quote unquote, for a coach to work with somebody that is wanting the change and the help than trying to convince someone that they need the change and the help.
Yeah, so true. So true. I love that. So talking about, well, first of all, you said that you're located in Colorado?
Yes, I'm in Denver.
Okay, cool. I love to know where my viewer or where my guests are coming in from.
Mm-hmm.
So you're in Denver, Colorado, and how long have you been in Denver?
So I've lived
4 years?
here total for 6 years.
Okay.
I when I got married, we lived here, and then we moved to Brazil after 3 years, and then we came back. So it's going to be 7 years at the end of the year. So it's been a while. I really like it here.
Very cool. Very
Mhm.
cool. I love that. So thinking about, okay, the time in your life when fear was holding you back, right? That was
Mhm.
becoming a first-time mom, having your triplets. So let's dive into that a little
Okay.
bit deeper for your story. Let's go there. So, what would you say was your fear during that time? If you had to label your fear, what was it?
I would say, which is super cliche, is of losing myself, of losing my identity, of just becoming the mom of these 3 kids, of that role consuming everything that I am. And the fear really came from seeing people around me and from others telling me that that's what was to be expected. That is normal. It's normal that not that you're going to feel like that, which we will regardless, but it's normal that this is what your life is going to turn out to be for years to come. Just deal with it. There's nothing you can really do about it. Just cancel yourself out for now until who knows, one day, maybe when they're 18, maybe when they go to college. And that was really what pushed me. And what's so interesting is that I always tell people that I love challenging myself, that I love putting myself in uncomfortable situations just for the thrill of overcoming. And that's one of the reasons why I think I ended up with triplets, really, because it's like, oh, you like difficult things. Let's see how you handle this one, And I'm still dealing with it. It's still a challenge. There are days when I'm like, I didn't sign up for this. This is not what I had in mind. Of course, I love my children, but it is overwhelming. It's a lot of work. And with it being, outnumbered all of the time, even when my husband's around, we're still outnumbered. And so I think that was the biggest thing, is that not doing as much as I wanted with my life. Like, I can't, there's nothing I can do. These were the cards that I was dealt, and this is it for me.
Were you an entrepreneur before you had your children? What were you a high achieving woman before that,
Oh,
and it kind of
yes.
like put you back?
Yeah, I definitely
Okay.
was. I wasn't an entrepreneur when I got pregnant because I was working for a company, but I had always had the history of teaching languages and doing interpreting work as a freelancer. So I
Okay.
had experience with that, but it wasn't a full on business like I have now as a coach and as an interpreter.
Okay. Yeah. So a lot of the times, so I'm very much about human connection and how
Mhm.
we relate to people and that kind of thing. So, when you were in that fear space, how did relationships shift for you? Was it like a positive? You mentioned like moving away from your family. So talk a little bit more about like relationships while you were in the fear space and like what that looked like for you.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the reason why that fear was there had to do with the fear of disapproval too. What if I decide to do something else and break the norm of,
Mm-hmm.
your life is over, just dedicate everything, every waking moment to your kids? What will people think? Right. That had always been something that permeated my life, was seeking for the approval of my parents first and foremost, and then seeking the approval of my in-law family and my husband, making sure that I was a good mom, that I was, passing with flying colors of being the best triplet mom that I could be. And I started realizing how much of a pressure I was putting on myself by allowing those people to put that pressure on me. I started kind of coming out and realizing I'm allowing this to happen. I can put a
Mm,
stop to this. I can tell them that this is not how I want to live my life, and they are going to have to follow suit because I'm the one that is determining how they're treating me, you know? And it's been a very long process. I would say that, 4 years in now, I'm in a lot different space than I was in the beginning, because it took courage and it took building that confidence to set those boundaries and to be able to speak up and say, hey, this is how I feel. So this is what I'm going to do. And I don't care if you think this is not right, because this is what I need. And
right.
what was interesting in having a business at the same time is that I started having the support from outside of the home, from outside of my immediate circle that may not be approving of what I was doing. There were these other women that were saying, you're so brave. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for being so encouraging, which uh, fueled my fire, to know that I was not crazy, that this is something
Right.
positive, that this is something good for me and for those around me. And then, just putting one foot in front of the other, to understand that the relationship with myself really is the basis for any other relationship. And if I don't have that sorted out, if I'm not paying attention to what that looks like, all the other relationships are going to emulate the relationship with myself. So if it is a negative relationship, all my relationships are going to have that negative spin, because my relationship with myself really sets the tone.
Absolutely. I love it. So you mentioned, so really it's that feeling of knowing that you're not alone, it seems like, right? Like the community aspect of other, especially women,
Yeah.
being able to say like, hey, this is like a real thing and you're
Mm-hmm.
not alone, and wanting to be more, to show up more, and to strive for more for yourself first
Yeah.
and foremost,
Mm-hmm.
because it really is how we contribute to the rest of our world, that we first show that compassion and love to ourselves. So I
Yes.
love that. That's
Exactly.
amazing. So was there specific communities, or were these friends that were being supportive? You mentioned some women that were really like the encouragement for you. Was this a specific community that you found, or just like a association with people already in your life? Tell us a little bit more about
I
that.
would say just the women, the moms that I connected with on social media. So at first, when I started my business, I started with network marketing.
Hmm.
And even though I decided that the model was not something that I wanted to pursue, and in so many ways, there were things that I didn't like, that some habits and some thought patterns that I carried over with me that I did not like, and that I, still am working hard on, because of my
Unlearning.
personality type. Yes, unlearning. there were so many things that were so positive with just putting yourself out there, not having to wait until you have everything perfect, but just start talking about it, because they just push you and they say you have to start now because you have these monthly goals and all of that stuff, which can be super stressful, but at the same time, it just gets you on the ground and running, you know? And so that's really how it all started for me, is that I started posting a lot and being very, very active on social media and connecting with lots of moms, especially moms that had kids the same age as mine. And they started responding and saying, you know, I'm super inspired by you. And what happened is that even if it was a little bit frustrating that, you know, they were so inspired by me, but still my business was not really taking off with the network marketing. It really helped me build community and build this credibility of, she's doing this even while she has 3 little babies, you know, and I still have been doing it. And that's one of the things that people have been telling me, especially recently with everything that's going on in the world, is that, wow, you're still doing it. You're still keeping consistent. And that is really a true testament of how far I've come, because I could have given up several times, and believe me, I wanted to.
Right. I think that consistency piece is important too, and the fact that you're talking about, quite literally, we must live by example. Like, everyone that's watching, like, think about the people that you watch, right? Like the mentors, the people that you're watching, like, they're consistent. That's why you follow them. That's why you trust them. And that's who we need to be for the people. Especially, I call my children futurepreneurs, because I believe that's just how the world is going. So you're talking quite literally about how we are exempling this to our world, which is exactly staying consistent and showing up. And that's great. That's great. So that's great advice for the viewers that are listening and paying attention to, you know, take note from your own life and your own experiences, wherever you found that really pushback, where you wanted to give up on whatever it was, and you found community, you found people to, like, see they're going through hard things too, because you're not alone in whatever the hard things that we're all going through. We all have our own stories and our own experiences that we're going through, which is quite literally why this show exists. I want everyone to know, like, some people have really wild, crazy stories. They're like, can that even be true? Other people are like, my story is small, but we all have a story and we're all able to relate somehow. So Marta, what was the like mindset for you? Like, where were you mentally when you were in the fear space? If you could touch a little bit before you found, you know, how to empower yourself and get through that. Like, where was your mindset before that? And, like, how did you feel about yourself?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was a lack of self-awareness and really being in denial, because for the longest time, I had seen myself, and especially because of what people had told me, to be very confident, to really believe in myself. And then when I got in touch with personal development and started seeing people talk about believe in yourself. If you believe in yourself, you can do anything. And then I would try these things, especially, you know, in the network marketing space, and it wouldn't work as fast as I was expecting. And I'm like, so does that mean I don't believe in myself? I don't understand. I thought I did. I've always excelled in so many things in my life, but for some reason I'm having a hard time here and now. And then through the last 4 years is when I understood that it really takes time for you to understand how you're stopping yourself, and not even just understanding how, but why. Why, in my case, the biggest thing, which I think for most women, for most people it is too, but with different nuances, is again, that fear of rejection, that fear of disapproval. What will people think? Okay. First was recognizing that this was an issue for me, which I never thought that it really was. And then understanding that it really was what was holding me back, but then understanding the importance of why. Where did this start for me? How far can I track this back into my childhood, into seeking people's approval so much that that's what I live for, that I can't just count on my opinion of myself to live. I always have to get that fix, you know, that instant gratification of, oh, somebody loves me, somebody recognizes me. Okay, now I'm good. But then it doesn't last, right? You need it again and again and again. And then it's just like a drug. And then I started realizing I needed to find that worth within myself without any external validation. And there's a quote that I really love and that I live by a British author that says, "See your beauty without a compliment and without a mirror." And this has been my lifelong quest, is to constantly remind myself of my greatness and my beauty without having to look in the mirror, without needing anything outside of me to know that for a fact, without needing anyone's words to tell me that. And not that I don't need people, but that people in my life are really there to confirm what I already know. So the compliments, the validation from others is just a bonus.
I love that. That is so true. I love that so much. So you gave some really great like tips in there, but like if you could package up the advice that you would give the viewers that are like in that space right now,
Yeah.
what would you want to tell them for some advice?
I would say we're always, whatever situation that we're going through right now, whatever struggle that we're in right now, it seems like the end of the world and we're never going to come out of it. So what I encourage people to do is look back at a time that was really, really hard in your life, that you're not there anymore, and see how you were able to overcome it. It may not have been easy, but now that you're out of the situation, you see that it was not the end of the world. You know, not to take away of the severity of the trauma or any of that, how that has been affecting you to this day, but looking back at the things you've already overcome, and especially the things that you've already accomplished, is a foolproof way of empowering yourself through what you're going through right now. Because your brain, and this is the power of visualization, meditation, all the things, your brain doesn't know the difference between a memory and what's going on right now. Because as soon as you think about something sad in the past, you can start crying, because your brain does not know if it's now or not, right? If you think about something beautiful, happy, one of the happiest moments of your life, a vacation, time with a loved one, your wedding day, your delivery day, whatever, you can get so happy and so elated and just so joyful. Why? Because your brain does not know if it's now or if it's not. You are creating those emotions yourself. So why not actively, intentionally choose to create good emotions, thinking back to the things you've already overcome? And it doesn't have to be big things too. So that's another thing. Your brain doesn't know if it's big or if it's small, because the feeling is the same. So empower yourself and remind yourself of how great you are, even if you just put the laundry away. Oh, that's amazing. I finally did it, or, I put the dishes away, or I cleaned the bathroom. It doesn't have to be anything big. Just constantly remind yourself of what you've already done, and you will notice a difference, because it's science, it's chemistry. It's just how our body works. And if we take advantage of that knowledge, my gosh, our life can change.
Wow. Okay. So you just like two really key things. Like that's great. And I resound with yes, everything that she just said. So I love the idea of, sharing that we go back there. We go back to the emotion of it, because so my background is that I'm an empowerment boudoir photographer for women and couples. And
Love it.
I quite literally, so you saying also before that about, you want the reminder for yourself of your beauty and the things that make you the amazing person that you are, that you don't have to look outside of yourself. So that's my whole thing with my empowerment boudoir photography, is like having that reminder that you are powerful, you are beautiful, you are all these things.
Yeah.
Even when we don't feel it, you can go back to the reminder of the day you were here and you got the experience to really have that self-belief in whatever you want to do and achieve, that you can have that within yourself. So that's literally, I have my own 30 by 40 print of myself in my bedroom, and people are like, really? Isn't that crazy? And I was like, no, it's a reminder of me being the powerful woman, mother that I am, person that I am, to continue to go through the days when we don't feel like doing the laundry and we know we got to step up and do it, or we don't even want to go make lunch for the little people that are like controlling us right now. But like whatever it is, it's that reminder that you were just talking about.
Yeah.
So absolutely. And then the second part of, talking about those smaller things that some people, they're small, something that sometimes they're big, but the point is that it's a feeling of accomplishing it and knowing that, those little tiny steps, they lead to the big things.
Yes.
And I quite literally have a virtual workspace and community that's the premise of what it is. It's about working on purpose, with purpose and stepping up and doing the small things that get us to the big goals and celebrating ourselves for showing up and doing what we said we were going to do.
Yeah.
And that's how it all compounds to be our life, right? Like we don't really realize a lot of the times, like this is real life right now. This is where we are. And we need to be stepping into the future now, not tomorrow, tomorrow, but we need to take some inspired action today and right now. So I want to just like say for the viewers that are listening, any part of what we've already discussed that is like calling to you and like how it's empowering you, which is exactly what we're all about. Take something with that to say like you're doing an inspired action. So don't just listen to Marta's story and hear these stories and think about like, oh, that's so great. I get a great feeling of like, I can do that. Great. What is an inspired action you can take right now from what you heard and do it today, right now? Any little step that can start the process of knowing that this is something good that can keep moving you forward. That momentum will build from there. So have to just say that, like, take some kind of inspired action when you hear stories that inspire you, and don't just waste it by one instant good feeling of good for her and maybe someday I'll get there.
Yeah. No. don't do that to yourself.
Yes, do something for yourself. Don't do that to yourself. Do something for yourself today, right now. Listening to this is a great first step. Now, what are you going to do from here?
Keep going. Build on the momentum of the excitement.
Yes, that's perfect. So I am that visionary person that loves to think future focused and stay like on purpose with where you're going. So Marta, where do you see yourself 5 years from today? I love asking this question because as entrepreneurs, it's always great to know like the trajectory that we're aiming for so that we can say yes and no to the right things.
Yeah.
But you have tools that have empowered you that you continue to help other people with. So where do you see yourself 5 years from today? Which I know is like a crazy thing for people to be, especially in a pandemic, but we need to ask ourselves these questions to just start the process, like dream. Where would you see yourself 5 years from today?
Yes. So I have a membership site, which is called the Empowered Woman School, which is a community for women to come together and work on personal development deliberately, consistently, and share our stories. So our classes, our sessions are not only led by me, but by every other member. We take turns monthly so that we can teach each other, because there's always something to learn from somebody else because we're so different and we have such inspiring stories, no matter where we're at in our journeys. And really my vision is not only to grow this membership, which is virtual, but to take this into events all over the US, all over the world. Growing up in church, something that, I've been very used to was being a part of big events, conferences, and being on stage, and just the energy, the vibe of being together for that common purpose. It's just so powerful to, again, build that excitement, that encouragement, and to help you with the momentum once you go home. And I had been doing monthly events here in Denver before the pandemic, and that's something that I'm super excited to resume whenever possible. But really my vision is not for just, small 30, 50 women. It's for big conferences all over. And just putting these people together to really empower and encourage each other and lift each other up, but coming from the place of I know how to empower and encourage myself so much that my cup is running over and I can share this with other people.
I love it. That's so great. We definitely align in so many things. I'm super excited to be connected to you and having this conversation about where you see yourself going, because I definitely see that. That's an amazing opportunity for people to grow themselves in like an incubator of empowerment and take action on that. So that's super cool. So before we go, like, what is something that you would love to leave the viewers with? What is the last thing that you would want to say to them to close this out?
I would say really think closely about the definition of what empowered means, because I think for some of these words that are thrown out a lot, they kind of lose their value. And for me, being empowered means taking responsibility for every area in your life. Again, not
Mm,
looking outside of yourself, right? Not looking for that compliment, that validation, or even looking for blame, because that's what we tend to do. Something goes wrong. Oh, let's see who's responsible for this outside of myself, because it's easier, right? You take yourself out of the equation. Can't do
right.
nothing about it. It's their fault. But in every situation of your life, regardless of circumstances that you can't control, the common denominator is always yourself. So focus on what you can control, which is yourself, your emotions, your thoughts. And remember that once you take responsibility for your own happiness, for your own success, for your own feelings of worthiness and love, then nobody can take that away from you, and you won't be depending on anyone to do that for you.
Perfect. I love that. Where is the best place for the viewers to connect with you, Marta?
I hang out on Facebook a lot. So Facebook, but I'm everywhere. Instagram, I have a YouTube channel, and of course my podcast. Super proud of that one. So if you want to listen to it, the Empowered Woman podcast, lots of amazing guests and topics on there to empower and encourage you.
Perfect. Go connect with Marta and go see all of the stuff. Check out her podcast. Actually, I got connected with her through, I think, a podcast group that I
Mm-hmm.
saw it, and I listened. Literally, the first one that I listened to, I was like, this girl speaks my language. She knows
Oh, I
exactly
love
what I'm
it.
talking about. And then I found out you were a triplet mom, and I was like, what? That's so crazy. I like had an obsession growing up with wanting twins.
Ah,
Because I had twin best friend boys in my life. And I thought that was the coolest thing. So when I heard that, I was like, that is so cool.
that's it.
But I don't have twins. My kids are close in age, but they're not twins. But
Okay.
so I knew I needed to connect with you. So that's how
Oh,
we
I
got
love
here
that.
today. So I totally appreciate you taking the time to share your experience and your story and the tools that you have available to help empower more people. And I totally appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us.
Thank you so much for having me. This is great.
Awesome. Everyone that's watching, remember to love yourself and live fearlessly. Have an awesome day, everyone.